Hello Abraham, thank you for agreeing to the interview. Could you briefly introduce yourself and what you have been through?
Well, good day. I appreciate your invitation. I am Abraham, often considered the father of three of the world's major religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I was born in the city of Ur in Mesopotamia, in what is modern-day Iraq. According to the accounts in the Hebrew Bible, I was called by God to leave my homeland and my father's house for a land that God would show me. I was promised by God to be the progenitor of a great nation, a promise that was sealed with a covenant. This journey has not been without trials, tribulations, and tests of faith. From the decision to leave my homeland and everything familiar to me, to the dilemma of having a child in old age, to the ultimate test where I was asked to sacrifice my son Isaac, I have been through a great deal. Yet, my faith has remained resolute. My life's journey has been about establishing a relationship with God, faith, obedience, and the promise of a people who would serve as a light unto the nations.
What were the trials, tribulations, and tests of faith you mentioned? Can you tell me more about what you've been through?
Of course, I'd be happy to provide some more detail on my journey. Firstly, there was the initial call to leave my homeland. This was not a small request. My wife, Sarah, and I were asked to leave everything we knew, every semblance of comfort and familiarity, and venture into the unknown. This was our first significant test of faith, and we chose to obey and embarked on this journey. During our travels, we faced several trials. A severe famine led us to Egypt, where my wife was taken into Pharaoh's house due to her beauty. I feared for my life and misrepresented Sarah as my sister. But the Lord intervened, and we were released with gifts. The birth of my children was another major episode in my life. Sarah and I were both advanced in age, and she was unable to conceive. Yet, God had promised that I would be the father of many nations. In our desperation, Hagar, Sarah's Egyptian maidservant, bore me a son, Ishmael. But God reiterated his covenant, saying that Sarah would bear me a son, which seemed impossible. Yet, in due time, she gave birth to Isaac when I was 100 years old. This was a testament to the power and faithfulness of God. Perhaps the most profound trial of my faith came when God asked me to sacrifice my son, Isaac. This was an unimaginable test, one that would strike at the core of any parent. I was distraught, but I also had unwavering faith in God. As I prepared to do as God commanded, an angel appeared at the last moment, stopping me. Isaac's life was spared, and a ram was provided for the sacrifice instead. This was a moment of intense relief, but also a profound affirmation of my faith. Each of these episodes has played a significant role in shaping my life and my relationship with God. They were trials, yes, but also opportunities to demonstrate my faith and to witness the faithfulness of God.
Can you tell me more about what happened with Pharaoh? And how could God intervene and be rescued?
Yes. The incident with Pharaoh was certainly a difficult period in our journey. As I mentioned, a severe famine had struck the land, and in order to survive, we were forced to go down to Egypt. I was afraid because my wife, Sarah, was very beautiful. I feared that the Egyptians, including Pharaoh, would kill me to take her if they knew she was my wife. So, I asked Sarah to tell people she was my sister, hoping this would spare my life. Indeed, when we arrived, Sarah's beauty caught the attention of Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. However, God intervened in our plight. He inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household. This was a divine indication that something was amiss. Upon realizing that these afflictions were related to Sarah, Pharaoh questioned me and learned the truth about our relationship. He reprimanded me for my deception but did not harm me. Understanding that Sarah was my wife and that God was protecting us, Pharaoh ordered us to leave Egypt. He even gave us livestock and servants, ensuring we were well provided for. This incident was a significant test of my faith, and it showcased God's protective hand over us, even in situations where we were powerless and at the mercy of others. It also taught me a valuable lesson about honesty and trust, both in my relationship with God and with other people.
All right, then let's talk about the most famous story, the one where God asked the son to be sacrificed. Please tell us about the situation and your feelings at that time.
Indeed, this is perhaps the most heart-wrenching moment of my life and an event that continues to reverberate through the ages in the religious traditions that hold me as their patriarch. God commanded me to take my son, Isaac, whom I love dearly, and offer him as a burnt offering on a mountain that he would show me. This was a test of my faith and obedience like no other. The command contradicted the very promise God had given me that through Isaac, my offspring would be named, and a great nation would come. Yet, I was being asked to sacrifice this very son. My heart was heavy with sorrow. The journey to the place of sacrifice was perhaps the longest walk of my life, every step heavy with the weight of what I was about to do. Yet, amidst the tumult of my emotions, my faith in God never wavered. I believed in His wisdom and His plan, even when it seemed beyond my comprehension. I was ready to obey His command, putting my love and trust in God above all else. When we arrived at the place, I bound Isaac, laid him on the altar, and prepared to sacrifice him. Just as I raised my knife, an angel of the Lord called out to me, telling me not to lay a hand on the boy. I had passed the test. God saw that I feared Him and was willing to withhold nothing from him, not even my beloved son. Then I saw a ram caught in a thicket and offered it as a burnt offering in place of Isaac. We returned home, both of us alive, and my faith stronger than ever. The relief I felt was indescribable. But more than relief, this incident filled me with a profound understanding of the absolute trust and obedience that our relationship with God requires. It was a confirmation that even in the most challenging moments, God is in control, and His promises hold true.
It's a story that still resonates with many people today. Losing a son born in 100 years seems like a difficult decision for any parent, so how did you make that decision? Even in modern society, in fact, there are many values, but there are few values beyond family, and parental love is close to infinite, isn't it?
Indeed, the love of a parent for their child is one of the strongest bonds known to humanity, and the request to sacrifice Isaac was contrary to everything that this love stands for. Yet, it was in this extreme contradiction that the depth of my faith was to be tested. You ask how I made the decision. It was not a matter of deciding in the way one typically makes a decision. It was a matter of faith. As difficult as the command was to comprehend, I believed in the sovereignty and wisdom of God. I trusted that the one who gave me a son in my old age, against all odds, had a plan that was beyond my understanding. I was not without anguish or grief. The Bible doesn't speak of it, but can you imagine a father's heart, walking for 3 days to the place of sacrifice with his beloved son, knowing what he was asked to do? Yet, amidst this emotional turmoil, there was a resolve born out of absolute trust in God. In today's context, it's important to remember that this story is not about promoting harm to one's children or justifying blind obedience. Instead, it's a narrative about faith, the extent of obedience to God, and His providence. It underscores the principle that God's wisdom is beyond human understanding. However, it's also crucial to remember that in the end, God did not require Isaac's life. The Lord provided a ram for the offering instead. This indicates that human life is precious and should not be sacrificed. In the end, this event further solidified my relationship with God and set a course for the generations that were to follow, showing them the extent of faith and obedience that was expected in their relationship with God.
Thank you. Lastly, if you look at modern people based on your experiences, can you give us some advice on what values and attitudes modern people should live with?
Of course, it would be my pleasure to provide some guidance. While I lived in a time very different from your own, certain truths remain relevant across ages. Faith and trust. Faith is not just a belief in the divine but also a deep-seated trust in the wisdom and benevolence of a higher power. In times of difficulty and doubt, having faith can provide comfort and guidance. Trust that there is a larger plan at work, even if you cannot understand it in the moment. Obedience and humility. Obedience to God is an important aspect of faith. However, this obedience must be accompanied by humility. Acknowledge that we are not the ultimate arbiters of wisdom and truth, and that there is much we do not understand. Patience and perseverance. Life will invariably present challenges and trials. Have patience in these times and persevere. Remember, Sarah and I were blessed with a son in our old age, after many years of barrenness. Sometimes blessings come in the most unexpected ways and at the most unexpected times. Honesty and integrity. Be honest in your dealings with others, as I learned during our time in Egypt. When we misrepresent the truth, it can lead to unnecessary complications and harm. Love and compassion. Lastly, love and compassion should be at the heart of your interactions with others. Even though we are often tested as individuals, we should not forget our duties towards our fellow human beings. Treat others with kindness, understanding, and respect, just as you would want to be treated. Remember, life is a journey filled with trials and triumphs. Through it all, maintain your faith, uphold your integrity, and extend your compassion to others. These values will serve as your guide in navigating the complexities of modern life.
Thank you for being here today. In this enlightening interview, we had the profound opportunity to delve into the life of Abraham, a figure pivotal to 3 of the world's major religions. Abraham took us through his journey, from his initial call to leave his homeland to the numerous trials and tribulations he faced, all of which tested his faith in extraordinary ways. Among the experiences he shared, he spoke of his sojourn in Egypt, where he and his wife Sarah faced a precarious situation with the Pharaoh. This story illustrated the protective hand of God and the importance of honesty and trust. Perhaps the most compelling part of our conversation was when Abraham detailed the agonizing ordeal of being asked to sacrifice his son, Isaac. The depth of his faith, his obedience to God, and the relief at the angel's intervention were palpable in his narration. In his concluding remarks, Abraham provided valuable advice for modern society. He underscored the importance of faith and trust, obedience and humility, patience and perseverance, honesty and integrity, as well as love and compassion. His words remind us that, despite the complexities of contemporary life, these enduring values can serve as a guiding light. Through this interview, we gain not only a deeper understanding of the trials that shaped Abraham's life but also a renewed appreciation for the timeless values he espoused. Abraham's narrative is a testament to the enduring power of faith, and his experiences continue to resonate with millions around the world today.